Welcome to Session 3 of the Northwest Iowa Student Teaching Orientation. During Session 3, I will be covering how to evaluate a UNI student teacher. Evaluation is an ongoing process, and certainly that can be done by giving daily feedback to your student teacher. On pages 32 and 33 of the UNI Student Teaching Handbook, it discusses how to help give feedback to your student teacher. A lot of the feedback is done in conferencing. Sometimes it can be daily informal ones, or it can be weekly formal ones done in a reflection manner. There will also be feedback given from the UNI coordinator. In Section 4 of the UNI Student Teaching Handbook, there's also a section on what to do if there is a concern with the UNI student teacher. UNI has a process in place called a Notice of Concern. On page 34 and 35 of the UNI Student Teaching Handbook, there's also some more information about that process. The most important thing to do during the semester is to open up the communication and let the UNI coordinator know if there are some concerns during the semester. Sometimes a concern with a student teacher may require additional visits. Now for the formal evaluations found in Section 4 of the Student Teaching Handbook. There's a 2-week progress report that is also found on the UNI website, and there's also a midterm evaluation as well as a final evaluation. So during the semester, during each placement, the student teacher will be given 3 evaluations. On page 39 of the UNI Student Teaching Handbook is the 2-week progress report. This will be discussed and collected at the first visit during either week 2 or 3. Copy the form, fill it out, and sign it. It certainly can be scanned and emailed to the UNI coordinator as well. This is what the 2-week progress report looks like. In the first section, simply check in the areas that the student teacher has done in the first 2 weeks of their experience. In the second part, there are different characteristics listed, so enthusiasm, punctuality, and you're simply just underlining or circling if it's acceptable or needs improvement. And then we just need to sign it and give it to the UNI coordinator. The midterm evaluation reports are found in Section 4 as well. In Section 4, there's an elementary secondary teacher section, there's an early childhood section, and there's a library media section. Most of our student teachers will fall under the category of elementary or secondary teachers. So on page 43 of the Student Teaching Handbook, you will see the evaluation form for that particular student teacher. At the midterm evaluation, goals will be discussed for the student teacher to make improvements based on this evaluation, and the coordinator then will also collect this observation form. I want to remind you that the forms can also be accessed electronically on the UNI website as well. Details on each of the characteristics are also found on the bubble sheet, and that's what you see right here. So if you're looking at the competencies or characteristics of your student teacher, for instance, knowledge of content and skills area for number 1, if you go to the right, you'll see some bubbles. You'll fill in one of those bubbles. The U stands for unsatisfactory, the LC stands for low competence, the CO stands for competence, the HC stands for high competence, and the O stands for outstanding. Keep in mind that if a student teacher at midterm is showing that they are competent, they're doing a pretty good job at that time. The Student Teaching Handbook also, in the sections following that bubble sheet, also have each characteristic or each category with some narrative in there. So for instance, with category 1, knowledge of content and skill area, you will see that there's a paragraph for what an outstanding student teacher would look like at midterm, what a what a competent teacher would look like, and someone who's low set or unsatisfactory. The low degree of competence and the high degree of competence are kind of those gray areas, so it kind of gives you some idea of how to mark them. If you want even a more specific rubric, there are still some more pages following the bubble sheet that you will see highlight each one of those characteristics as well. So I've taken out the category 1, knowledge of content and skills area, and then it just goes straight across. Are they demonstrating all of these in terms of that characteristic? For the final evaluation in section 4, again, that is found on page 75 through 77 of the elementary secondary section, and I've listed where the other pages would be if you are an early childhood or a library media specialist. This is the only evaluation that goes into the University of Northern Iowa system. The CT, which is the cooperating teacher, will also write a narrative using the expectations of the final evaluation section. This evaluation will also be recorded in terms of the written part in the UNI system. You will note that the final evaluation looks exactly like the midterm evaluation. The only difference that we should possibly see here is that we're hoping that the student teacher has made some improvement or is showing some other higher characteristics in each of those categories by the time they're done with their placement. And again, each one of those categories is written out in a narrative to help you with your marks where you want to put your student teacher. And then there's also the rubric for each one of those categories as well to help you with your decision making in giving that evaluation. The handbook also provides you with detailed instructions on what to put in each one of those paragraphs for the narrative, and that is found on page 76 if you're elementary or secondary student teacher. And you will note that on paragraph 4, it is optional if you want to put in a paragraph that talks about the student teacher needing improvement in certain areas. There's also the website information there as well. One of the other resources in the handbook also provides you with information on some words that you might want to use during that written evaluation. Those are found on the page following the bubble sheet, in this instance, page 78 of the handbook for elementary and secondary teachers. So if you want to look for some words to put possibly into your narrative, there's some ideas there. Thank you for attending session 3 of our orientation.